Hi there, everyone. Thank you so much for making it at 11 o'clock in the morning, since so many of you probably only went to bed about 3 hours ago. It's a fantastic effort. We are Profero, and what we're going to talk about for the next 45 minutes is going back to the future. And our presentation is split into three parts. I'm Patrick Collister, and I'm going to talk about the past, what happened in the recent past. And one of the reasons for that is because I am very old. I will try not to dribble and fall over a lot. But I'm going to talk about what happened in the 50s and 60s, because that, I think, has an influence on the way our advertising industry has evolved to the present condition. And Scott, who is much younger than me, is going to talk about some of the really interesting things that are happening in the communications industry at the moment and what that might mean for all of us. Scott is the Executive Creative Director of Profero in New York. And then we're going to hand over to young Wayne there, who is 15 years old but is the CEO of Profero worldwide. And he's got a great deal of future to talk about, being so ridiculously young. So that's basically our agenda today. And what we're hoping is not to sell Profero to you, but actually to try and sell back to you the concept of what advertising agencies mean and can mean to our clients in these very peculiar times. So, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Bible and the story of Esau. Esau was an hairy man, and what happened is Esau got tricked out of his birthright by his brother Jacob. And so his entire inheritance was lost to him. And I think that's what's happened to advertising. We pissed away our inheritance in the 80s because there was such easy money to be made out of TV advertising. So what agencies did is they lost all those marketing services experts they had in-house. They lost all the direct marketing people, the packaging design people they had, and let them go off and create their own new agencies. And they just concentrated on TV advertising. I've got to tell you, it was great in 1988. I remember coming to Cannes in 1988 and drinking the Hotel Martinez Dry of Cristal champagne. Now, of course, I can't even afford a single bloody beer, so things have changed. So, back to the future, back to a time when actually agencies were the business partners, the creative business partners to clients. And we believe genuinely that we can be that again. That's a photograph of Wayne looking into his crystal ball, which he's going to do later today. So, if you go back a way, I mean, I don't know how many of you watch Mad Men, for example, but you know, it was only in episode 2 that Don Draper goes into Rachel Menken's department store. And what was really interesting about that episode is that Don didn't say, hey, have we got a campaign for you, or have we got a slogan for you? What he said to her is, Miss Menken, if you really want to be the store that you tell me you want to be, you have to change everything about it. So he talked to her about changing her basic product. You know, it wasn't about having an overarching brand idea or a theme or a strapline. It was actually talking about the layout of the store and the kind of products she sold within it. And that was a kind of really fascinating little piece of truth about the way agencies did work with their clients in those days. I want to tell you a story about how agencies were able to bring value to the raw stuff of their clients' businesses. Now, this may be an apocryphal story, but it's still a great one anyway. In 1963, it was a very good summer in the UK, probably the last good summer, actually. A very good summer in the UK, and the pears down in the southwest of the country just grew like crazy. Every pear tree had loads and loads of fruit on it. And a group of farmers down there thought, well, we've got a lot of pears. How can we make money? We've got more pears than we normally have. Maybe what we need is a clever advertising campaign and get people to eat a lot of pears this year. So they came up to London and they went into a big ad agency. And the agency said, no, we don't want to talk to you. You're too small for us. Pears, pear growers, farmers. We don't talk to people like you. But they met in the lift as they were leaving this big agency. They met a really cool dude. His name was Ronnie Kirkwood. He was such a cool guy. He had the pockets of his suit sewn up so that nothing would break the line of his suiting. He was a dude. Anyway, he was listening to them talking in the lift. He said, gentlemen, can you give me half an hour? And they said, well, certainly we can do that. We've come all this way up from Somerset to talk to you advertising people. And what he said is, tell me about your pears. And so they told him about his pears. And he said, but if I sell you your pears, if we do a campaign, it's a one-off, isn't it? You know, next year you just go back to being farmers, and next year you have a shit year, and then the year after that you dig up all your pear trees and you plant wheat. Why don't we look at this basic product, and why don't we see if we can create something of more lasting value? So between them they created a drink called Babycham, which is a champagne perry, and it was marketed at girls, you know, as something special on a Friday night out. And this is a brand that still survives today. It's not doing as well as it once did, but Ronnie Kirkwood took that West Country farmer and he transformed him, Francis Showering, into the chairman of Grand Met, who in the 1980s was the biggest single booze brand in the world. So agencies were having business transforming ideas back in those days.